No.
She-Hulk. I kid you not, man. Like, I'm sure you've all watched it and you're kind of up to date, but like episode 5, is it, or 6, the
Five is
most
the
recent
copyright
one,
one. Six is the new one. Yeah.
the wedding one.
Yeah, the wedding one.
That triggered some kind of existential crisis in me. Like, you know, if you torture someone really hard, and I have, and they'll kind of have like almost like an outer body experience, like their nervous system and their mind can't take it anymore, and they just kind of remove themselves from what they're experiencing. I feel like that's what I went through with this show, and like eventually jumped back into my body at the end, and I was like, holy shit, this was actually a TV show. Like, I'm watching a
Yeah.
show. This isn't torture. This isn't some kind of purgatory that I've been condemned to. This is a show that people made for entertainment. How was this allowed to happen? I mean, this is practically a war crime. This show is genuinely one of the worst things I've ever seen on TV, and
I'm.
it cost millions.
Yeah.
I I
I'm.
think this is someone's personal blog in visual form. Like actually, like
Yeah.
everyone, when you're like everyone will relate to this, and everyone's like, no, no, that's just
No,
you.
nobody does.
That's what this show is.
Yeah,
I was just about to say, episode 6 was the one where I was thinking to myself, like, I'm so tired of learning about how shitty these writers are, not just in terms of their talent, but their values. Like, I'm bored of knowing exactly what you think should and shouldn't happen in the world, because it's your point of view is so limited and childish, and just it's like, oh, wouldn't it suck if you went to a wedding and then they're like, can you clean up the dishes? Oh, that's so mean. Poor Jen. It's like, is this for like babies? Like, who wrote? Like, why? Oh, it was so childish. This episode, I was having
the whole
trouble with it.
show is this show
Yeah,
was written by people who are either retarded or they just have the mindset of children, and it's I don't know what even to compare it to. It's like if they said to us right now, we're going to start shooting in 10 minutes, like just give us a show, just make something happen, and we had 10 minutes to come up with a show with events happening in it. That's the level of like stupidity that's involved here. Like, this episode is just a pointless diversion into nothing. So, the main character, she goes to a wedding of her friend, and she shows up as the Hulk, and her friend's jealous, and then she shows up as herself, in clothes that somehow still fit, even though that they were designed for the Hulk, who's like 3 feet taller than her.
yeah.
Then Titania shows up, and they have a fight, and then like she gets drunk, and then the episode ends. I'm like, why? Why is this? You know, the money that was invested in this one episode, you probably could have made a couple of like small, small scale, cheap indie movies that probably would have been a million times better, a million times more interesting and creative than this. And that's the thing that pisses me off most: the money and resources that were wasted on this shite that nobody is ever going to find entertaining. I am baffled by it.
I'm
It's
so
staggeringly bad. But I think the other sort of particularly irritating thing about it, I think, is the cost in time as well. So episodes 1 and 2, which were awful, were at least awful in ways that you didn't really expect. And so there was something to comment on in episodes 1 and 2. It's like, how the hell did they think this was a good idea? Why have they let the HR department write a show? That's not how this works. Episodes 3 through 6 is almost more offensive because I've watched them all, and if you ask me to tell you what happened in episode 4 now, I couldn't. If you asked me to, so I only watched episode 5 earlier today. Ask me to tell you what happens in that, I could probably, there's a court scene, I think, maybe. That's it. There's nothing actually filling the time. There's no reason for it to be. It's not telling a story. It's not funny, so it's not a comedy. It's not a sketch show. It's not even a variety show because there's no variety in it. And if it had just been, say, 3 episodes long as a skit, you could at least comment on that. You could say either it's succeeded or it's failed based on a principle and a purpose that you've known, that you've identified, that's quite clearly there. But it keeps going on, and it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. And it's like there's no reason for any of this. It's not even failing to achieve a point, because there isn't a point for it to miss. It's just a thing that just goes and goes and goes. I don't understand why they why is it even this long? Why are there so many episodes? What was the purpose behind giving them, however, like 10 episodes again?
Oh
I don't
Christ!
understand
It's
how
not
this got.
10, is it? I thought.
have a feeling
I
it
thought it
must
was
be
8.
9.
I thought we
Or
were
is it
almost
8?
at the end.
I think it's
I hope
9.
we are. Might
It
be
is
9.
9. Yeah.
It's 9. Yeah.
Nine.
Split the difference.
There you go. I mean, we're like
Split the
2/3 of the way through.
It's
just
it's
and the thing with
punishment.
3 more episodes.
It is.
It's weird. I sit there and I watch it, and it is like 10 minutes is as long as 10 days. Every time just seems to stop, and I keep looking back and looking away. I think it must be over soon. I'm going to get distracted. I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to look at something else. I look back and only 30 seconds has passed, and it feels like so much longer than that.
Well, like, to give an example, it's like, hey, here's a setup. Mr. Immortal, he kills himself whenever he finds his relationships have gotten too difficult, and now he's being sued because of all the different people he's screwed over by not actually being dead because he recovers. It's like, what? Why?
Oh, but when those lawyers were just
This is-
screaming at him in the lawyer's office, I don't blame him for jumping out that window.
Yeah, I would.
Oh yeah,
I
when they
love the
look
fact
back
that
at
like windows in high-rise buildings, like they don't have toughened
Yeah.
safety glass like you actually
Stop
would
right
get
through.
to stop this happening. You can just walk right through it. It's no problem. But yeah, it's the writers weren't lying when they said we don't know how to write court scenes and we don't understand legal
write
stuff.
anything.
And yeah, like they just have lawyers hashing out details. Like the bit where they have to try and reach a settlement with all these clients who are suing him, and they they literally just go, well, he's got shares in Apple, so we're gonna dole that out amongst you. Case closed, we're out of here.
Well,
it's like you don't
got worse.
do it like that. You can't. I'm not a lawyer, but even I know you can't just
No, you-
decide it's over.
By the end, one of them didn't even get any money. She got an apology, and he looked her in the eyes for 15 seconds. It's like
Eye contact. Yeah.
completely unreal. That's never gonna. Oh yeah, I don't want those millions. If you could just say sorry to me, that's what I really
Oh,
want.
yeah.
It's all like the perception. Oh no, when people divorce, they're not actually after the money. They don't bother about that. What all they want is closure. Like this entire thing is written from her perspective, but what she wants. Like the guys that approach her are simultaneously, like the guy that did it in that today. He's so beta that his first words were to, "I'm sorry, I'm really awkward and I don't know how to approach you." But then he's confident
okay.
enough to approach her in the first place and give her compliments, but he's still a bit incompetent enough so that she's more competent in things than he is. It's like that person doesn't exist, but that's what we created in the first one.
Oh, dude,
the
yeah,
other guy
she-
was like
Well,
some
isn't
kind
it-
of
isn't
alpha
it
guy that read
interesting as
feminist
well?
literature.
When she's talking to him and she's like, I just want people to know that I've got an amazing life. I want them to envy me because of my awesome
Yeah,
job
yeah.
and the fact that I'm a superhero. And I just thought, you fucking
Yeah, dude,
narcissistic, self-absorbed arsehole. That is literally all you care about, because that's all that your writers care about. It's
This is what I
like
meant.
just hollow praise for your fucking career and your glamorous lifestyle that no one gives a shit about. That's how
Tired of these writers. Like that's what I was referring to, because I'm pretty sure after she says all that, he's like, "You are amazing." It's like, oh my god, he's a unicorn. The writer wrote in because that's who they want. A perfect man to just tell them everything that they know to be true, which is that they're amazing and beautiful and wonderful and the best person ever. It's like, what is wrong with you? Like,
This is this is just crazy cat ladies having a
Yeah.
therapy session
Yeah.
with
It's
other
it's
people's
like-
money.
I can just the writers. I can imagine the writers, unironically liking fulfillment posts on LinkedIn and drinking prosecco. Like there's a certain type of person who, and it is by and large, it is sort of affluent, upper middle class, metropolitan, single professional women disproportionately, who they just like it's all everyone has to clap at every superficial achievement. There's a clap on the back, clap for your achievement, clap. You are really beautiful, you're stunning, you're brave, you're strong, and it sort of feeds through into the interactions as well, because the interactions have that sort of complete superficiality and that real shallowness, which is just sort of people with plastered on smiles giving each other compliments in the office. You can just the writers who shine through this show are basically everything wrong with humanity, and I would happily just see them expunged, metaphorically, obviously.
Well,
But she
you know,
hasn't
look at
earned-
shows like Veep, for example, where
Oh, God,
everyone
yeah.
fucking hates each other, but like they've all got amazing insults and amazing banter for each other. Like it's all about like them attacking each other, but they don't need praise because they got enough confidence in like who they are to like take that kind of stuff on the chin.
It's weird. There's like Veep is almost, it's supposed to be sort of parodic, but actually in parodying the character of sort of, the female vice president, it creates so much more real and believable characters than this show does. I mean, Selena Meyer in Veep is so well realized because actually, there are a lot of people in the real world who are that low and that self-centered, and that mean and bitchy. It's realistic, and it's realistic because it sort of depicts flaws and makes flaws funny. And this is supposed to be a comedy as well. It's been written by a different species of person. You can't even compare Veep and She-Hulk. Just they're two American comedies with female leads, and you wouldn't even guess that they were that similar to each other if you put them side by side.
Yeah. But I think you're witnessing here, it's like the blog of someone with imposter syndrome. She wants to be told about how amazing she is, but she didn't earn any of it. Even her job she got because she's She-Hulk. And she spent the last 5 episodes telling us, I don't want to be She-Hulk. I want to be me. I want to be Jen. I want you to be appreciated for Jen. Then she's always willing to use She-Hulk to get whatever she wants, whether it to be to swipe profile or in this, when she wants everyone to say how amazing she is. Yeah, I just want to be She-Hulk again all of a sudden. Very happy to use what she's got for unearned advantages, but still wants all the praise that she doesn't actually deserve.
I could somewhat live with this if this was part of a cohesive character arc where, her arc is like she starts to become a little bit intoxicated by the power of being She-Hulk. It can get me amazing jobs. I'm suddenly incredibly physically strong. I'm attractive to people. Oh, it's all very enticing, and I want to just be like this all the time, and I'm going to take advantage of people, and suddenly I'm going to start, having less respect for people, less regard for other people's needs and boundaries and stuff. And it's all going to go to my head, this power trip that I'm on. But I know they won't do that. You know what I mean? Like that would be part of an interesting character arc if she learned something from that and said, I need to learn how to, have great responsibility that comes with this great power, to paraphrase. But she'll not have that realization because the writers aren't smart enough to realize that that's the kind of character arc you need to go for here. It's just going to be vacuous, ridiculous, justification for their own lives. It's a coping session. It's a therapy session for them to make them feel better about themselves.
It is, and because the writers have never gone on an arc themselves, so they don't really know what one of those is. But I mean, I'm still blown away by, it was episode 4 where, and this disconnect between portrayal of societal ill and character development, where the moral message, I think it's episode 4. The moral message is, isn't it really so terrible that men generally, or society generally, judges women by appearances and discards them when they don't like their appearance? And to prove this point, they have Jennifer Walters literally commit entrapment and date rape. But the problem in this episode is the problem is the male gaze again. The problem is just flippant discarding of women for appearances. Yeah, it's so unbelievably tone deaf. I think that's the only genuinely funny thing about it, is it's so unintentionally comedically tone deaf.
But Jen wants that praise as well. Like when she goes to the wedding and she's in She-Hulk form, and she's getting all this praise, like, wow, you've worked out, and your ass looks amazing, despite the fact that she never actually turns ass onto them, so they can't actually see her ass at that point. But anyway, and she's lapping up this praise, but it's like you're trying to break away from this idea that a person is defined by how physically attractive they are, but at the same time, you've got your main character who just desperately wants that. They want to be lusted after. They want to be desired and envied. They want to be envied for how successful and how beautiful they are.
Because this isn't an arc. This is literally someone's own self-insert and their own opinions. So they think that she's doing the right thing. They don't think she needs to go on an arc because everyone else in the world is wrong.
It's wrong
and
about
they need to actually conform to what she wants and provide her what she needs all the time. So they have to go and say she's amazing. And if they don't, it's their fault.
It's going to be what we keep getting with the really, really shittily written new, and they're often female heroes, because all the newer heroes have been female, I think, disproportionately, significantly. They're doing these new kinds of origin stories where instead of them having a flaw they have to work at while simultaneously gaining more power and understanding themselves better, they realize they were really good all along. And
yeah. I've said this so many times, it's just an absolute fucking trope at this point. It's like the world that needs to learn from them about how great they are.
Your sort of pitch, I think they're going to do a corrupted version of that, where by the end she's going to want to be She-Hulk more than Jen, but she will either learn or be told that what's valuable about She-Hulk is Jen. Like that is it'll be something like that. Like, why do people like She-Hulk? Yeah, you could say it's the muscles or the body type or even the hair, but really, Jen, it's the person beneath.
Oh,
It's
dude.
the heart of She-Hulk,
your
and that's
confidence.
you. It's
It's the
you, Jen.
person
You
inside
are
you.
She-Hulk. She-Hulk is you. There is no.
We are the Flash Barry.
And yeah, I think that basically that's what we're gonna get. She's gonna spend the whole season to learn she was always awesome. It was never a problem.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, she's not. She keeps telling everyone about how, I'm doing really well. I want everyone to tell me I'm amazing. I'm great. But she's miserable. She spends her entire life working. When that woman said everyone's got an arse, that I thought that was the best line of any episode they even got, just to like slap her down. But yeah, she spends all of her life working. She doesn't really have anything. Even if she doesn't even like visiting her family. She's got like one friend and spends most of her life drinking. It seems like that's their only hobby outside work. And
Imagine that, Disparu.
but she seems really unhappy. But when anyone's like, do you want to do this? Do you want to go out and save people? Do you want to go to save the world? Do you want to contribute to the world and make the world a better place? She's like, no, I want to be a lawyer. But being a lawyer is making you miserable. And it's like, you'd think someone who had a miserable life that they weren't happy in would change things about it. But she doesn't seem to want to.
Well, you'd think
Plus, like, double down on everything.
a competent writer would have understood that and made that sort of the point of the thing, like the realization that it's not just the point. She-Hulk is great because it's Jen that's inside it. The point of it is no, She-Hulk is great because all the things that Jen thought she valued, all of this massive superficiality, the careerism, the sort of the typical single woman professionalism, all of that is actually deeply unfulfilling. And so part of the realization of the character arc, which you can still do as part of a comedy, would be that, no, actually, I can make a real significant contribution to the world as a hero. And that entails a sacrifice of what I thought my values and ideals were, but also a recognition that those values and ideals were not as high as I thought that they were. Like, there is a higher goal in life than simply self-fulfillment and professional fulfillment. You could do that even in this show, and you could even make it a comedy, and it would be fine. But nah, because...
I don't think the writers would have the balls to do that, because the amount of flack that they would open themselves up to by suggesting that, like, being a single-minded, career-driven woman who just lives alone in a glamorous apartment with some cats and is all about her job and just drinks herself to sleep every night, like, to suggest that that's not a fulfilling life, you couldn't do it. I honestly think that would be unacceptable. And it would open them up to too much criticism. They wouldn't have the balls to make that kind of moral choice.
Well, this whole episode was anti-marriage from the start. And it was weird because it was like they humiliated the person getting the divorce and then kind of showed the positive of the divorce, that like, yeah, you can get a load of stuff out of this if you divorce people. So I didn't like the messages of this episode at all. Because even the person getting married, she started off and it's like, yeah, I'm really happy, but I just don't want you to do this because it's my kind of day. But there was a very weird scene at the end that I still don't understand, where she walks in after the fight and she's like in tears, and suddenly she loves She-Hulk when she's despised it before and said how amazing he is.
I mean,
she's
obviously
drunk,
like
and that was
really...
the true feelings.
Yeah, I think she's just really drunk, and like, you know, when you're really like that, you just suddenly love all your friends. Like, you're the best friend I've ever had. Fucking great. I don't know if that's what they were going for there, like whether that was her true feelings or just like that's how you are when you're tipsy, if you know what I mean, like you're just like super chummy with all your mates.
The part that lost me is that she was like getting on sort of with the guy, and then she's like, uh-oh, and then she goes to vomit. Typically speaking, I think if a guy is like trying to chat up a girl and then she runs off to go and vomit just outside of it's not in the toilet, it's literally just outside the room, you'd probably check on it, be like, oh shit, are you okay? But no, he's gone, and instead Titania's here and she punches her.
I thought you were going to say more. That's a deal breaker normally if the girl throws up. It's like, fucking bail, man.
That would come after, right? But you'd be kind enough to be like, are you okay? Like, you know, oh geez, that's awkward that you're vomiting there. But no, he just disappears. Then Titania turns up. But when she punches her, I was like, why isn't she turning into She-Hulk isn't that how that works? Where when your normal form is in danger, the Hulk form takes over?
None of it makes any sense. No, the writers don't care. Why should we? It's
okay.
I have wondered, and I don't know whether this is just me desperately hoping for some kind of plot, but I have wondered if all of the men she's meeting that are nice to her are actually just part of that unit which are trying to, because he keeps trying to get to turn into She-Hulk, and he's like, no, I really love She-Hulk. And like, is that just part of the plan to like get her blood and her DNA and stuff? That's what I've hoped. Like, there's actually something tying all of these episodes together, but
I
maybe
think
I'm
you're
just
being
delusional.
wildly optimistic that there's some kind of cohesive arc to this. Like, I think it's more just whatever.
Because
like,
even on the swipe dating thing, there was a guy there who was like really interested in her and her abilities, and like, well, can you get damaged by this? Can you get damaged by this? What about this? And it seemed more like an interview than a date. But yeah, maybe I'm just too hopeful.
Yeah, I think that was just men bad kind of thing, and like you're going to meet a lot of creeps in dating apps. Like, what a bind to have like dozens of people trying to date you. Like, what a nightmare.
You know,
Yeah, it's
their fight, by the way. I was like, She-Hulk is so excited to beat up this superpowered lady in the middle of a wedding with all of these innocent people around, to the point where she even gets tossed into some random guy at one point during it. And I was just like, God, there used to be a concern for civilians when fighting people. That was a thing once upon a time. But now, like, She-Hulk's like excited to do you see her first move as she destroys like the concrete everywhere to do some kind of quake to hit Titania? Instead of trying to be like, Titania, we're not fighting here. This is a fucking wedding. You kidding me?
No, she knocks it into the people.
Exactly.
So if anything, it was even worse. But she literally, she doesn't care about the public at all. Like, when she said, don't you want to go out and save the world? No,
God,
I don't care. So,
it is fucked. And I'm tired of watching my superheroes not care about civilians. Stop.
I mean,
you're not a hero. You're just an asshole.
Muller, I mean, you're trying to apply any kind of logic or common sense to a show like this. Like this She-Hulk exists outside the bounds of conventional writing and conventional entertainment.
I thought you were gonna say
This isn't even a story in the normal sense. This is just a series of random thoughts that happen in the writer's head, and they just got splurged onto a page and then turned into a script and then filmed. I think that's all it is. And like, I don't think we can even waste our time trying to analyze it, because none of it makes sense. It's just ridiculous garbage. Thanks for watching this clip. If you're interested in supporting this channel, then my new novel Dark Harvest is available to order from all online retailers. Link in the description. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.